I think we'll go ahead and get started as people trickle back into the room. I want to just say another big thank you to Taffy for sponsoring our lunch and to Lizzie's Kitchen for providing the food. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it and had some great conversations. Visited some of the exhibits. Why is this? It's always the first couple of rows. Everybody's back. That's all right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Kristen. Next up, we have with us a special guest from San Diego, Eddie Reynoso. Eddie is the Executive Director of the Equality Business Alliance, an LGBTQ chamber and visitor center in San Diego, California. Eddie is also the owner and publisher of LGBTQ San Diego County News, one of the last print newspapers in California. He's also the proud fur daddy. Isn't it fur daddy or daddy to a fur baby? Anyway, fur daddy to Cookie, a pit bull that rescued him in 2017. Eddie comes to us directly from a trip to the Republic of Malta. I mean, literally, he was just in Malta like a day and a half ago. And where he joined the U.S. ambassador and Malta's prime minister in presenting a historic pride flag made by Gilbert Baker to a contingent from Kiev, Ukraine, as part of the International LGBTQ plus Sibling Cities program. The program's aim is to promote peace, LGBTQ plus equality, and friendship throughout business and cultural exchanges. Welcome, Eddie. Oh. And that's what Eddie looks like. It's right there and right there.
Thank you for having me. Let's see. I am a Mac person, so using a PC is a little challenging for me. But I think I can manage.
To just advance to the next slide, you can just use this and just
Okay, perfect.
advance and back. Oh, that's
back.
There you go.
Backwards is forward, backwards.
Yeah.
All right. So San Diego, I'm, like I said, or like Liz said, I'm the executive director of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce. We're the Equality Business Alliance and Visitor Center. I'm here today to talk about the economic benefits of LGBTQ tourism. Can you hear me all right? And what that means. Really, basically, it's a more welcoming opportunity, and what that means for small businesses in your area, and how that has impacted our businesses in San Diego. So, a bit of an introduction. I think Liz already went over this. So I'm going to skip over to who we are. The Equality Business Alliance expands and creates social and economic opportunities for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and allied community throughout the greater San Diego region. We envision the San Diego region to be the premier destination for corporate investment, talent, and tourism. So it's those last three things, those last 3 or 4 words that are really going to focus on in these slides, right? We started off, however, as an LGBTQ visitor center. Our chamber had been around for about 40 years, and then it slowly just kind of went away. So as our visitor center started to grow, we started taking on more services that a traditional chamber would take on, and eventually we became the de facto chamber there. So through the visitor center, we provide the most trusted and useful resources and information, maps, and local recommendations to visitors. We had an actual storefront with a goal that the visitor center can share San Diego's LGBT-friendly and welcoming brand and image with the world. So how do we accomplish this mission, right? I'm not sure why it's that color, but it's supposed to be rainbow. Certification. Yeah, it's a PC. Yeah. Certification. Does everybody know what certification is? LGBTBE business certification? Anybody have any questions about what that might mean? No? So the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce provides a certification course for LGBTQ businesses that are able to apply for this application. It's a certification program that allows you to compete for contracts with government or public corporations. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a step up. It provides some equity. And it makes it it allows you to compete where you might not otherwise have that opportunity. We also provide certification for safe spaces. I noticed that the Utah Pride Center and several other organizations here provide certification through the Stonewall Inn initiative. It's a national organization based out of the Stonewall Inn. They provide a very specific safe spaces certification program where your business can apply for that. You fill out an application, you go through an interview process, and then they contact you, and then they certify you as an official safe space program, right? Participant. Those safe space programs, a lot of cities are implementing them through their police departments. A lot of chambers are implementing them. We're choosing to support the Stonewall Inn initiative simply because it's a national standard. And what we really want is we want it to be a nationally recognized standard throughout the nation so that, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to say Altoona, New York City, or Altoona, New York, I should say. They might have their idea of what LGBT friendly is, but compared to West Hollywood or San Diego, that's a completely different idea. So the idea behind that is that we have a nationally standardized safe space certification program. We also provide that through education. We have our Business Institute. We do workshops, resources, and events. Advocacy. Our organization is really big on public policy. As Liz mentioned, I was just in Malta. I got to meet with the Prime Minister to do a presentation, and that is all really kind of boils down to our advocacy work. We do advocacy at the local level, state level, regional level, national level. At every opportunity, for example, I had a layover, or I missed my connection flight in DC on Monday night, I think it was. Yeah, Monday night. So I had a choice to get rebooked the next morning at 8:30 or 5:30 p.m. I was already in DC, so I said, screw it. I'm just going to stay until a 5:30 meeting. And then I took that extra time to go and meet with my elected officials in DC. It's not something that was planned. I just kind of quickly showed up, but I just made my presence known. For our chamber, that makes a huge, huge difference. And we do this at all sorts from the local level. Let's say your mayor is showing up to speak at a grand opening for a grocery store. Part of my job is to show up at that grocery store and just wave my hand, maybe go up and try to shake his hand, and then get out of there. And what that does is it starts to create a relationship so that anytime our organization needs any kind of assistance, we already have that face-to-face recognition, and we already have that rapport that we've already been doing. Most people, I don't know how you guys managed to, or who it took to invite the mayor to be here this morning, but I know that with us, our mayor, it's the 8th largest city, so it's really difficult to get him into a room, let alone for anything more than 5 minutes. So our relationships are not necessarily with the mayor, but it's with their staff and specifically with their scheduler. So whenever we can, we make sure to connect with the scheduler for any of our elected officials. We also do this through networking. We provide member events, conferences, and our business directory. Finally, there's marketing and community. These last two are really where I'm going to focus on for this presentation and how it really connects with LGBT tourism. Obviously, marketing, there's promotions, communications, relationships with TV, radio, and print. And then community, there's economic development, which is the ultimate goal of tourism, resources, events, and then placemaking. Placemaking is basically creating maybe rainbow crosswalks, installing a rainbow flagpole on public property, creating parks that are LGBT friendly or spaces that are LGBT friendly. That's how we define placemaking. So through our chamber and our visitor center, we first started out by connecting with programs like Google that allowed us to provide workshops for small businesses. We started off with Google. We then joined Shop Small Saturday, and we started eventually getting to the point where we had to launch a business institute. Everything from Facebook 101, websites 101, pets and service dogs, understanding what the law meant. That this was more geared towards restaurants. But we offer workshops, anything from credit building, how to apply for financing, basic budgeting. You would not believe how many businesses have a difficult time understanding a P&L sheet. And then during COVID, we switched online to Zoom. And then most recently, we started back up our face-to-face workshops. We just got funded. We had been closed for about 3 years, so we were just funded, and this was our first workshop back in town. And that was an active shooter preparedness. And this is a direct result of a active shooting that happened in our city. Just to give you an idea, though, of what we started off in 2015 and 2016 when we first opened our visitor center. At the end of the first year, we had 15,658 visitor engagements. Now, what does that mean? For us, a visitor engagement is how many people walked through the door or how many phone calls we took and engaged people that asked for visitor information. A lot of these phone calls or a lot of these people that were coming in were asking for very basic things like hotels, restaurants, dining. Surprisingly, we also got a lot of people that would call in and ask for the bathhouse information. When we opened, we quickly realized, though, that our gay and lesbian center was taking the brunt of the phone calls. And I'm sure that's the case. Whenever I speak with other chambers and I do this presentation, it's most often the case that your LGBT center is going to be taking the brunt of any kind of tourism questions. So we really decided at that point that we needed to connect with our center and offer training on how to direct them onto our website or redirect those phone calls to us. Our gay and lesbian centers should really be about social services and not about answering questions of where the bathhouses are or the hotels are, that kind of stuff. Our first year, however, from an economic standpoint, we were able to provide 23 community sponsorships. And that's where we went in. We either provided funding or marketing assistance for their events. But more importantly, we signed up in the last 2 months of the year with a hotel that gave us a specific link so that anyone, anytime that anyone ever booked a hotel directly through that link, it would get recorded and then we would get a kickback off of that, a percentage of that hotel booking. As a result, we ended up with 275 direct hotel bookings, which is pretty impressive. It's about $200 a night in San Diego. So you start to add that up, and that's just in 2 months, our first year. By now, it's in the thousands, right? And by the way, we did all of this with zero public funds. Oops, I'm going backwards again. So we really had to figure out who our markets were. We did this through, I talked about earlier about taking those phone calls and those visitor engagements. Every single one of those people, we invited them to participate in a survey. That first year, we accomplished about 900 and something surveys. So through those surveys, we were able to get some really important data. And that led us to figuring out that most of our people were flying in from certain cities. And again, the color isn't showing up. It's a Mac and PC issue. This is supposed to be the United States. But our flying markets were San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Denver, and Chicago. Our drive-in markets for us are Orange County, Los Angeles, Palm Springs, Las Vegas, and Phoenix. I imagine for Salt Lake, it's going to be pretty similar. Just because when we compare ours with Denver, we have very, very similar markets. And then obviously our in-town market. Our in-town market consists of locals, visitors that are already in town visiting, other local businesses, chambers, and other business groups. And I'm going to speed through this so I can get through the rest of the good stuff. So what are some of the goals of tourism? Obviously, we want to attract visitors. Tourism creates 1 in 4 new jobs throughout the world. In San Diego, because we're such a huge tourism town, it's 1 in every 3 jobs. Businesses. We want to attract companies and individuals to host events and conferences that draw more tourism, right? And these are just, I'm going to just preface by saying that these are just some of the goals. It's not an exact list or an ideal list, but this is some of the goals that we set out for our organization. Students, again, education is really big in San Diego. We have several major universities with 35, 45, 85,000 students. So we wanted to really focus on students and what that brings to our local economy. Whether it's, we know that higher education creates jobs, and it also increases individual wealth. That last little bit of that is really, really important in terms of tourism, because ultimately the ultimate goal of tourism is economic development, right? But there's also an aspect to tourism that not a lot of us really think about. And that's cultural heritage and preserving our cultural heritage. For us, we wanted to preserve our LGBT heritage, and we did that through placemaking. So we created spaces in San Diego, and I'll kind of go through some of those in a little bit. But we created some spaces like a Rainbow Crosswalk. We're in the process of creating a Pride Plaza, which is an entire 2-block section of our neighborhood that's dedicated to public events. So it's where we can host farmers markets, car shows, that kind of stuff. Talent. Obviously, tourism. As you start working your way up the pyramid, first there's visitors. Some of those visitors eventually bring in companies. Those companies start to draw in students. Students, companies, and visitors. We want to focus that attention on cultural heritage. Eventually, we want to attract those people to our region to not just visit, but also to move in, right? We want to make their experience so great and so welcoming that they eventually choose San Diego as a place to live. That's the case that happened with me. I wasn't going through a breakup. I took a week off so that my ex could move out of his apartment. I ended up in San Diego for a week, and I fell in love with the city. And a couple years later, I ended up there, and I've been there ever since. So finally, the very, very tip, that end goal is our tax base. We want all of these people that move in, whether you're LGBT or straight, we want you to move in, expand their families, and invest in our businesses, create a business, and eventually buy a home, because we want you to pay taxes. Taxes are what drives our economy, what creates infrastructure, and in turn, it starts to snowball, right? So for us, what did that look like? We ended up renting a really historic building in the heart of Hillcrest. As you can imagine, the rent in San Diego is pretty expensive. So we rented out a first floor space. It was about 3,800 square feet. Our rent was about $6,000 a month, which back then was incredibly, incredibly cheap. That same space is going for about $10,000 right now a month. But what we did is we first started off by setting up, our visitor information center, a small desk, and then a small little case that had these tchotchkes that I literally bought from Walgreens. Every city has these tchotchkes that have, San Diego or Salt Lake City. They're in Walgreens, CVS. I've seen them everywhere in every city. So I just bought those, and then I resold them up for a higher market or for a higher price. Most people didn't realize it and were willing to pay for that extra, $5 or $10 price that I added on top of it. But what that told us was that there was a market, and there was a way for us to create income for the Chamber and Visitor Center. And that was a way that we hadn't really thought of. And that's how eventually we ended up in the bigger space. Once we got to the bigger space, we started filling it up. So we decided we were going to give an opportunity to LGBTQ entrepreneurs to be able to rent a space. And this is for people who did not have the funding or the resources to rent a brick and mortar, right? They couldn't afford a storefront on their own. So we decided to create that for them. So we broke up our space into 52 smaller sections that we then rented out. Through those 52, as the space started filling up, we started requiring certain things of them. So for example, if you were a clothing designer and you wanted to sell your clothing to us or at the store, you had to create something that was specific to LGBT community and specific to San Diego. Same thing went with our porcelain workers. They made mugs. We had people that made cards. They made LGBT cards. Jewelers started making jewelry. A yoga company was making yoga pants. So it just kind of grew from there. Eventually, we filled up this huge 2-story visitor center with retail and our offices, right? As that grew, our visitors suddenly went from 16,000 to 24,000, 26,000, 28,000 visitors a year. But more importantly, without it, there's a couple things that can happen to certain regions. There's obviously an economic benefit that we're seeing through increase of business, increase of visitors. Just to give you some really quick numbers, Pride in San Diego generates about $11 million for our region. It brings in 19,000 out-of-town visitors. And those 19,000 people rent about 11,000 hotel room nights for the weekend. When Texas was considering their bathroom bill, it was estimated that they were going to lose $8.5 billion in economic impact and a loss of 185,000 jobs if they would have implemented that bathroom bill. Once they saw those numbers, that really, really quickly woken them up, and they backtracked on that bill. However, for states that did implement them, specifically like Mike Pence, where he's from, North Carolina, those numbers are pretty significant, and I highlighted some of these. $75 million was the estimated, or is the estimated economic impact of hosting the NCAA Final Four tournament. If you remember North Carolina, they pulled out of that, right? 47% of hotel room or meeting planners said that they would absolutely avoid any state that passes anti-LGBTQ legislation. Those that LGBTQ travel planners or meeting planners, the LGBT Meeting Planners Association collectively, they have a budget of about $300 million, right? So that 47%, if you take that out, that's $150 million that's going to impact one state alone. 1/3 of those meeting planners plan about 6 to 10 meetings throughout the year, throughout the nation, with budgets of $2 million or more. So you can imagine that if you piss one of those people off, that's a lot of money that your region can lose, right? 35% of them have budgets of about $100,000 to $500,000. So the more LGBT friendly your destination becomes, the more likely you are to draw in some of those economic benefits. For Indiana, when Mike Pence signed some of those really anti-LGBT laws, and then signed wanted to sign an HIV criminalization law and make those laws stricter, they had about 1 billion social media posts that were negative reactions to Indiana, to the tourism sites. And then they had in Atlanta, they had a 5-year economic damage to hotel and industry that was estimated by the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce at $600 million, which is pretty significant. Even though some of those laws didn't fully get implemented or got reversed, that impact was still felt for 5 years after that backtracking. So any time that we hear of a state that starts to put in, whether it's bathroom laws, anti-transgender law, drag laws, those economic benefits are instant, but they also drag on for years and years and years, because the reminder People, LGBT people specifically, are very, very loyal to brands. They're very, very loyal to travel, and they spend a lot. We're the highest spending we're the highest spending demographic in LGBT travel. For example, in San Diego, our general travel industry brings in about $1.2 trillion. $540 million of that is LGBT individuals alone. So for us, the reason we wanted to focus so much attention on LGBT travel is kind of two parts. Between 2004 and 2014, several destinations throughout the United States, primarily Philadelphia and Las Vegas, started LGBT programming and LGBT tourism initiatives. As a result, San Diego fell from being the 8th most visited city to 14. The reason that's important is because our population as the 8th largest city, it would correlate that we would also have the 8th most number of visitors visiting our region. However, once those other destinations started to attract tourism, even though they were either a smaller population or had or simply just put a budget, those cities started increasing from being number 14 to eventually being number 3 and number 1. So Philadelphia, which is not exactly on the top of my list, I don't know if anyone's from there, I apologize, but it's not on the top of my list as being a place to visit. I love history, and what caught my attention about their program is they started a program called Philadelphia, where it's get your history straight and your nightlife gay. That simple ad was enough. They invested $30,000 on getting this ad out, and it was enough to move them from the 14th spot to the 3rd spot in terms of LGBTQ travel. And that's on a $30,000 budget, which is pretty significant. Las Vegas obviously invested millions and millions of dollars. I think they invested like 1.2 million, but they shot up from also, I think it was like 16th to the number 1 spot. And the way they did it is through a commercial, which I'm going to play real quick. Let's see if I can do that.
I was gonna say PC to Mac. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it just
colors
on
definitely
one of your
do.
web pages?
Yeah, it's on one of the web pages.
Let's get out of the, let's get back to the slides to get out
Okay.
of the slides. Okay,
I'm going to bring it down.
why can't I see the mouse now?
There it is.
Ah, there we go. Okay. Get back into the slides and then hit there. Now we're out of the slides.
Are your background pictures gonna come up with? That's scary.
I took them off, Tracy. I hid everything I didn't want you to see on the laptop. We might need a little tech support, guys. The browser isn't showing up on the.
Came up earlier.
This cable's been a little. Oh, Crystal's helping.
Stuff all day,
Crystal.
every day.
While they're going, I'll talk a little bit about the ad that I'm about to play. It was an ad that was put out in 2018, but it followed on a series of other advertising. Here we go. But the ad was called Now and Then. It ended up having, it went viral with 8 million views on social media. Yeah.
Wait for it. Wait for it. You're married. You're right. On what planet? I'm serious. We knew we'd get married the night we met. We met here. Hi. I didn't have anything else to say. I just, wanted to meet you. Let's get married here. Tonight. It's Las Vegas. What do you think your parents are in front of you? You are beautiful, successful, and charming. Funny. I don't think it's my sense of humor that they have an issue with. We can't get married tonight. My parents would never forgive me for getting married without them or for who you're getting married to. They don't see the world the way we do. Well, how do you know that? You never asked. I don't have to ask. I know that. Well, if you never ask, then you can't know. We're going to be together forever. You just met me. Trust me. I know these things. It's a gift. We'll see. What are you doing? Look. It's a wedding. It's fake. Let's just speak. Let's get married. I'm about to have my periods. Calm down. Let's get married. Every time it's like fire under water, fire under water.
What's interesting about this video is that it's 3 minutes long. And the reason I wanted to point that out is because 3 minutes is a long time to have someone's attention span. The average attention span is about 8 seconds. However, this video ended up getting 8 million views at the full 3 minutes and 12 seconds. It got something like 16 million views, partial views. And then once you start breaking it down into smaller sections, obviously that number grows, right? But it made a big enough impact that I went viral and got 8 million views at 3 minutes and 12 seconds. So that really started to catch our attention. So we eventually flipped over and started doing videos ourselves. But before that, there was a quick, I want to just go through this timeline. In 2015, we opened. And by then, we had dropped, San Diego had dropped to number the 24th spot as the most visited city in the nation. 2016, we had about 16,000 visitors. And then between 2017 and 2019, we went up to 24,000, 26,000, 28th. And then that is really when we started seeing our score and our ranking increase. We eventually went from 24 to the 12th spot. And then in 2023, we once again hit the 8th most visited region in our amongst LGBT visitors throughout the nation. However, something happened in between that I think it affected everyone, and that was COVID. Our organization was the very first organization to close in San Diego, and that was because Liz, myself, and a group of other LGBT chamber leaders were meeting on a regular basis. We were planning our economic summit for Albuquerque at the time. Were you in those meetings? Yeah. So we were meeting once a week, and it just so happened that Seattle was leading those meetings. They were the head of WBA, which is the Western Business Alliance. Through those meetings, they were having frequent communication with their governor. And then on February 26th, the CDC, the head of the CDC, issued a really stark warning that really kind of struck me, and it made our board pay attention when we shared it on social media. And that was the CDC director took the day off, went and picked up her kid from school, and then had a radio interview on February 26th and said, I told my daughter this morning that business and school will never be the same. For me, for someone of that stature to say something with that kind of impact and say it publicly on radio, it really made me think that something big was happening that the public really wasn't aware of. A few days later, we had our WBA weekly meeting, and after that meeting, we decided that we were probably going to have to close our visitor center just to kind of give the virus some time to blow out. We thought we were going to be closed for 3 weeks, and that ended up being 3 years. So we just barely, this past year, received our first round of funding. It's our first round of funding that we've had in 3 years. So it's been a long journey for us. However, what's happened is it's allowed us, and can I go back to the video again?
She just minimized it, I think.
Minimized it? Okay, let me see. Boom.
Let's see.
Okay, there it goes.
You got it?
Yep. So we started creating our own videos to start marketing our region. This is through an organization called Fabulous Hillcrest, which is our neighborhood. This was our first video that we created. This video in particular, we ended up putting it in hotel rooms. So, you know, when you check into a hotel room, there's always that one channel that has the local commercials, whether it's shopping or the local hotel information. We ended up connecting with a company called the Travelers Channel, not to be confused with the Travel Channel. But the production of this was $1,200, which is not a lot of money. And then we paid $5,000 to have it play for 3 months. The value of that was pretty large for us. It played 2 times per hour the first 3 months, and then we launched a second commercial in about a year later. This time around, we ended up using quotes from local media to really promote our region. Local and national media. So again, for us, the production value the second time around was only $800. The way we were able to reduce that is simply by reusing footage that we had already recorded. But slowly, we were also able to delete businesses that were no longer in business and add new ones. So how do we pay for this? Each one of those businesses, whether they got a second or 2 seconds, they each paid about $50 to be in the video itself. And then we also created a map, a fold-up brochure, and unfortunately I forgot it in San Diego. But it's basically a tourism brochure like that you would see at a airport or a visitor center. It was $250 to have a picture of your business in it, or $150 just to be listed with a dot. It had about 38 to 42 participating businesses in it. That paid for the printing of the brochures. It also paid for the production and the ad revenue that we would require for the hotels. So eventually it got to the point where the organization was able to make money off of both the commercials and the brochures. But what it means ultimately is really marketing our region as an LGBTQ friendly destination. And then really how that helps our businesses. Most importantly, for our hospitality, hotels, bars, we were able to change our funding levels for the organization, whereas perhaps if you're a janitor or a real estate professional or a financial advisor, you might not need additional marketing for your business. However, this gave us an opportunity to increase our prices for those businesses by $50. So it really wasn't that much of a difference between the chamber dues that a financial planner would make versus a hotel or a restaurant. So that's kind of a little bit of what I wanted to chat about. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was how we kind of, and I know I'm down to the last 3 or 4 minutes. I wanted to bring up, let's see. I'll just do it that way. So this was our website. It's in the process of being redone right now, so I apologize if some of the links are not working. However, we were able to take everything from our old visitor center website, which is this. We were able to take all of this and combine it with our chamber, with our visitor center and our chamber website. So now we just have one website. On one side, we have all the visitor information stuff. And then on the other side, we have what we call our member center. So we're in the process of reopening our visitor center again. We just got funding for that, a second round of funding to do that, to reopen. However, all of our programs are listed on our website now, and everything is all under one complete website. So whether you're a public-facing, so a customer, or a business-facing, you just come to one website, and everything is now on here for us. What we were able to do, though, is we were able to now tie in, for example, this is a blog So these are blogs that we have people write for us. We're able to start tying those directly into our directory. So all of our tourism information starts to connect. And I apologize, these are some of our older because everything's being transferred in. But everything, so for example, if you're a member, Common Stock, or Sunny Boy Biscuit, that also allows you to be part of our blogging. So in order to be featured on our blogs, on our tourism site, you have to be a member of the chamber, right? So it kind of starts to create even more mechanisms for funding, because now you're starting to promote not just your member services, but also your tourism services to businesses that really require that extra little push. And as a result, through all of this, we eventually launched a program called the LGBTQ Sister Cities Program, where we started connecting with cities like Key West, Chicago, Montreal, and connecting with business groups in those organizations. So hopefully in the future, maybe we can discuss a sister city program with Salt Lake and another one of our program cities throughout the nation. Yep, that's it. Any questions? No.
If you want to answer questions, I'm going to mess around here for a second.
Questions? You have questions?
Quite impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Really amazing.
Yeah, and you know, I think what's most important about all of this is we had zero public funds up until 2022. So all of this was done with a really limited budget. So for a city like us to be able to do this, I think it just really takes a little bit of creativity and some people that are really willing to
Close the
put in
website
a little bit
and
of time
just leave it on
and
the
effort,
slide that it's
and really consider what your region. So for example, if Salt Lake City
It can
were to
minimize or
start
close
to focus on
both.
tourism, it really doesn't take a whole lot, because all of the information you already have through your members, right? You already have a website. You already have businesses that are restaurants. And if you don't have hotels, major hotel chains, that's just another reason why you want to add corporate level sponsorships, because that's really where the big bucks start to come in to fund this kind of stuff. Cool.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, just a couple of quick announcements. You know about the Kinsey 6, December 3rd, Drag Queen Storytime Gone Wild. Many of you are already chamber members. So if you want to try to win those tickets, what you can do, if you're already a chamber member, or maybe you're budgeting to become a chamber member in the next little while, go donate $20 to Safe Zone Utah and you'll be entered to win as well. You can go and do that in the exhibits here in just a minute. The other announcement I have is we've rented a bus. We're all going to get on the bus. We're going to go to Vegas, group wedding, and then we're going to San Diego. No. Yeah, right? No, seriously, though. Let's see if I can get there. We're announcing the Utah LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce intention to open a LGBTQ visitor center in Salt Lake City. A lot of what Eddie was talking about, I've heard Eddie talk about this visitor center for a couple of years, and this spring I realized, you know what, we need to do this in Utah. We all know what tourism means to Utah, and I think we all want more queer people to come visit us and to move here and do all of these things. I'm very excited about the potential of having a space that we can activate with the chamber's events, or smaller events anyway, maybe not something of this capacity or this size. Also, very excited about the opportunities we will be providing to our members because of this space and some of the other things around the space. So, local queer artists will have wall space. Local queer history installations will attract people who are already living here and also people who are visiting. We also, Eddie didn't get into this, or maybe it's when I had to leave the room, relocating guides, like how to start a business in Salt Lake or how to start a business in Utah. It's more county by county. And others, you can talk to Eddie about that. We will potentially be doing some self-service kiosks and leveraging technology in many ways. That may be more of a phase 2, but I can imagine a self-service kiosk at the airport, Park City, St. George. Some of you may not know we have a chamber chapter down in St. George. So there's that. And what am I forgetting? Oh, yeah, I might have a desk or an office there, but that's just, I don't really want that part, a meeting room or so. And this is the announcement of our intent. The project will begin with a feasibility study, and we will be recruiting people to be on a committee to do the feasibility study. We are looking for artists, historians, real estate agents, and anybody interested in bringing this to life. What's that? Oh, Adolfo's in. What? Oh, yeah. Marketing, money. We need those things too. Yeah, actually. Yeah, I just started listing people. But yes, after the feasibility study, I'm quite sure that we can do this, and I am quite sure that this is a very good thing to do. We will be following that with a capital campaign, some fundraising and planning, and with the eventual goal of opening in May of 2026. We'll see. Maybe we can go faster. All right. So that was the announcement. Oh, and one more thing. That is, it's time for cookies. So we're having cookie and coffee break. Again, thank you, Sugar House Coffee, and also Progeny for sponsoring the break. Okay, so all right, here we are again, everyone. I'd like to welcome up to the podium next Tracy Dean of Tracy Dean Financial. Tracy is a certified financial planner. Her expertise lies in helping individuals navigate the complexities of planning for a financially secure retirement. With a tailored approach, Tracy will guide you through investment strategies, risk management, and tax-efficient solutions to ensure your retirement years are comfortable and worry-free. She lives in Mill Creek with her partner of 18 years, Sherry. They love discovering yummy local cuisine, spending time gardening, and playing in their backyard, vacationing to new places, playing pickleball and golf. And Tracy has 2 bonus daughters and learned that she will soon be a grandma. Tracy Dean.
Hi, everyone. Guess where I got that intro? Chat GPT, and I'm not joking. Where's our marketing person? Is she here? Oh, you are? Where? Oh, I thought you'd be so proud of that. Thank you. I'm not. That's me. Hi. Thank you for having me. I am so delighted to be in between the cookies and the breathing today for this very, very fun presentation that Liz asked me to put together. First of all, it's a 2-pronged approach, and Eddie just alluded to LGBTBE status. So that's the first part that I'll talk about, and then we'll talk about the really fun part of business continuation strategy. So, you guys ready? Okay. Cool. So LGBTBE, if you are 51% or greater owned as an LGBT organization, doesn't matter, sole proprietor, partnership, corporation, S-corp, you may apply to be an LGBTBE. You can't be a franchise. You have to be headquartered in the United States, as this shows here. And then thank you to our allies, but you are also not able to become certified. That was rude. Usually don't go negative. That was pretty negative. Okay, so benefits. Why do we become LGBTBE? My business is an LGBTBE certified organization, and I think there are 6-ish in Utah. So one of the main parts of the chamber is growing businesses, helping small business owners grow their business, and this is one way that we can do that, and growing membership and certification. So the I don't look at my website because I do not have any of this on my website. But there is logos and all sorts of things that you can advertise. And Eddie's shaking his head like, yep, you should. If you're an LGBTBE, but website marketing materials. And you can also attend the international conference that was just recently in Denver and really get set up with, there's large corporations. All of the big Fortune 500 companies are there, and you can do matchmaker events with them. Start to, if you're a B2B salesperson, you can get RFPs, answer RFPs, all sorts of stuff like that. And, as Eddie alluded to, the LGBT consumer is looking for us. There is so many dollars that spend that people want to be intentional with their money now. And so if you are identified as an LGBTBE, they know that you are greater than 51% owned. And it's an inclusive, LGBT inclusive business. So the the certification is done by the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, or we like to call it the NGLCC. So certification is national, but membership is local. So as a local member of the Utah LGBT Chamber, you all of your certification fees and recertification fees are waived. And those, you guys, I just looked up. It went up like everything else. $899 is the certification fee, and $499 is the recertification fee. So if you are a member, or if you've seen what our fees are as the chamber member, that's a smoking deal right there. You have added value just right there with certification. So let me go back one. So mynglcc.org is the website. I know Liz and I can help you with this. I get several questions. Basically, it's an application process. The biggest question, or the biggest, I don't want to say hurdle, maybe I'll say hurdle, is proving your queerness. So, seriously. So, I get people ask this all the time. For the integrity of the certification, we have to somehow prove that we are a queer LGBT person, right? So that can be insurance beneficiaries if you're not legally married to your spouse, all sorts of things. I've also, I don't know if you know, but I used to be the chair of the chamber. I've also certified in letters to the NGLCC that you are indeed queer. How I know that? My best guess. No, just joking. But there are ways that the chamber can help. And so reach out to Liz, myself, and we can help you get certified. I'm going to stop this part and just see if there's any questions on LGBTBE, because I kind of went a little quick. Because, cookies and breathing, we got to get over. Okay, cool. Now, the fun part is business continuation. I also wanted to note that everyone's sitting here thinking, how do I have time to do all these things? From marketing to worrying about continuing my business. Heck, I can't even run my business. I'm here today, all those things. But what I have to say is, from what you learned today, take one to three things. Maybe if it's once a month, once a quarter, whatever it is. So chart it out for yourself. So third quarter 2023, you want to work on your AI and marketing strategy, all those cool things we heard about this morning. Q1, we want to do, LGBTBE, I had to look at my list. LGBTBE status, we want to do the application for the LGBTBE status if you qualify. Q2 is continuation strategy, and that comes in many different flavors. I'll pause to tell you a quick story why I'm so passionate about financial planning, but also having a plan in place. And having a plan in place means all those things that we don't also like to talk about. So yes, you might think of business continuation as of retirement, but there's also things that can get in the way, like a disability, like a car accident, or God forbid we lose our life. And so those are things that we're going to bring up. I was actually living in San Diego at the time, 23 years ago, and I was in a rollover car accident where I was ejected and died on the scene. I couldn't walk or work, walk and work, for a year. So I saw really the effects of what disability insurance had on my life. I didn't run a business at the time, but for the business owners in this room, think about what you would do, what would happen. And mine was just temporary, thank goodness. But then there can be something that happens permanent, that you permanently cannot work any longer. And so those are things that we're gonna talk about today. Isn't that fun? Good time, good times. Hopefully it's just, you're gonna retire. We're gonna get you set up to when you wanna retire, but those things, we'll talk about in the interim. Oh, I think I'm supposed to be on this slide. Would your business continue if you die or become disabled? Will your business survive your retirement? Or maybe your business is your retirement. So we'll talk about that, ways to exit the business, liquidation, or sales of the business. How is your business doing? Do you have a formal plan? Nope, that's Q2 of next year, right? Q2, I don't know, month 3. What is Q2? Anyway, have you selected a successor? That's hard to say. This could be, sometimes family members are a good choice. We have a spouse or children that want to run our business. I don't. Financial planning, they look at me like I'm crazy. But have you talked to them about what that looks like? Because if you were to die unexpectedly, guess who goes into business? Your person, right? Do you know your business's value and not just what you think it is, right? There's a lot of questions and a lot of subjectivity around this question. Do you have a buy-sell agreement? This is good for business partners, if you have a partner. If so, have you funded it? This is a fun part of my job. Yes, I have that document. Yes, I saw my attorney, and yes, I have that document in place. And the next question is it funded? And they look at you like, what does that mean? We'll talk about what that means. Okay. So first step is really knowing the valuation of your business, and then succession planning and having the buy-sell agreement. And let's look at these things all individually. Business valuation. There's a few different ways we can do this. You could go to a business broker and have them value your business. That's probably the most accurate way to do this. But let's just pretend you're going to have a lot of fun in Q2 and you want to do it yourself, okay? We'll go through that. The cost approach. We're just cruising right through this. You're welcome, Liz.
As long as I don't leave the room before I'm supposed to be back.
Oh, I'll call you. Well, I'll give you a call. Oh, we'll FaceTime you. If you hadn't noticed, I'm not very serious of a person. And especially in this serious type subject, like, it's really not fun to sit through this. If I were just to read these slides like they're written, you'd all be asleep, even if you had the cookie too. Okay, back to what we're talking about. So the book value approach. It takes the value of underlying assets that the business owns minus liabilities. So we're talking inventory, receivables, any type of assets, real estate, for example, and then minus and deduct any accounts payable, taxes, SBA loans, or any ongoing debt. The adjusted book value is taking into account, the assets that maybe appreciate or depreciate. Obviously real estate and inventory, those types of things. that are going to change, and liquidation value. That's just to say, we've seen those companies that go out of business. It's a liquidation sale. That's a buzzword, right? But sometimes that happens if someone dies unexpectedly. They have to quickly sell the business. So basically, that's back to the book value. Like, let's take the assets. There's no future income in this business. We'll take the assets minus the liabilities. Okay, but the fun part is the crux of a business is cash flow, right? How much cash flow can we predict, or should we be predicting? So that is taken by what you predict in the future, what you're doing now, and then what you predict in the future, divided by a cap rate. What is the cap rate? The cap rate is anywhere between 10 and 30%. The higher the cap rate, the more risk or risk of the business. So like a coffee business, for example, you'd probably have a 25% cap rate. That's just what is commonly known in your particular business. Oh yeah, I already said that. Higher the cap rate, the more risk. Cool. The discounted future earnings is taking tomorrow's dollars and discounting back to today. The other way, you could look like when people look on Zillow and they see how much a house sold for and think that that's how much their house is going to sell for. That's a really bad approach, but that's essentially what a market approach means is how much did that coffee shop down the road sell for, and this is what we can. The reason that we're valuing our company, just to go back to basics here, is to have a plan in place. So even if you're planning to retire and sell the business, we have to know how much that business is valued at. If you're not planning if you're planning to get disabled or die, then we also need to know, right? But, okay, that was a joke. Business valuation worksheet. Oh, it's big enough. I didn't know if you could see that. So you have $1 million in annual earnings. We all have $1 million in annual earnings, right? And the cap rate is 25%. So the total capitalization earnings is $4 million. So this is taken into account your earnings plus your assets minus your liabilities. So capitalized earnings, $4 million. All of your assets combined, your real estate is $250,000, and then you minus your liabilities from that $4.25 million. You get your total liabilities $1.5 million. You get $2.75 million. That is a great, great, great way to value a business, or use a business advisor. Okay. So are there any attorneys in the room? Cool. Okay, so this slide is for the attorneys, and this is called contract law. So you have to have a willing buyer, and you can't be forced to buy or sell, right? That's number one in contract law, but I love that we have to go through this slide just in case there were some people in the room that wanted to see this. And you have a reasonable grasp of the relevant facts in the transaction. So you have to know what's going on. There can't be any shady deals in the background, like you're trying to sell a car and it's a lemon, right? That type of thing. So we value the business. Now we get into succession planning. So these three things can be three different people, right? Or two. The last one is, should you sell or liquidate? That's not a person. But anyway, who will own your business? And will it be just when you pass away, does your business go away? If it's a sole prop, the answer is yes. And then that person does a liquidation that's in charge of your assets, that's in charge of your estate, and just sells everything, and everything is completely liquidated. We don't have any future income because you died. Sorry, that sounds real bad, but you did. Okay. Who will manage it? So you could have a key employee that really has worked with you for over 10 years, 20 years, 10 years, over 10 years. And they could be the one that you want to take over the business, because who owns it and who manages it could be two different people. And then should you sell or should you liquidate? So is it part of your retirement plan that you're going to sell the business? Or is it liquidation might make sense at the same time. It might just be like, yeah, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. What will happen to your enterprise? The enterprise word should be business. I don't like the enterprise word, but basically, what will happen to your enterprise? Who are the potential buyers? Also, the one person that I didn't mention is competitors. Competitors like to buy up businesses all the time. So if we need to quickly sell to someone, that could be a good person that we want to sell to. Is it a family member? Is it a child? And if it is a child, how are we going to maintain the business in retirement or have the funds in retirement to actually retire and have that child continue on the business? These are all really very good questions to consider. The other options are selling. So venture capital, business angels. Who are my art people in the world, in the room? Like the theater people. I looked up business angels this morning at 6:30 because I thought, I want to know where that is derived from because I knew you guys would be bored until I was funny or did something different. So, see, you woke up. Business angels is a theater word, theater, Mindy. And the wealthy folks would guarantee and would fund the theater so that everyone could go and see it. So that's where the word business angels or angel investing comes from. And that really is true. So, or IPOs, initial public offering. I don't probably think a lot of us, we need to talk about IPOs. If you do, we should chat. If you have a business that is in tech or something like that. You like that, huh, John? But taking your business to sell on the NASDAQ and to issue stocks for your business to take it to an IPO. What was I just going to say? Someone just went IPO. Instacart, their IPO. I don't know, you guys don't care. But yesterday, it was huge. Okay.
I heard about it, yes.
Oh, yeah, it was big. That's fun. I use Instacart, but I didn't invest. I can't actually invest in IPOs, so that's okay. So if you are a partnership, if you have a partner, and let's just say something happens to you, again, our demise, you're disabled or you pass away, you have to think about this. Do you want to be in business with your partner's child or spouse? Ooh, oh, that hit a nerve.
You said child, and she goes, no.
Spouse, yeah, child. Any of those things. So that is why we are going to have a plan in place. Okay, so our case study. I still don't know how old this person is, Dr. Schultz. Do we have any ideas? Dr. Schultz is my wife and I, old partner, whatever. We had a joke because she was turning 60, but she was going to be 59 and a half forever. So I think Dr. Schultz is 59 and a half. It's a joke because we say everyone's 59 and a half. So Dr. Schultz is 59 and a half, but he has a history of heart disease. He owns 65% of his dental practice. No one in his family are dentists or doctors or whatever he does. And what options are available?
I have to admit, when you put Dr. Schultz on there,
Yeah.
I was surprised that it was a dentist.
I don't think it's a dentist. Oh, it is a dentist. You know, I didn't put him on here. I didn't technically do that, but we got a picture somehow legally. Oh, I went one forward. Wherever are my notes? Oh, they're there. Okay, so he knows that his partner in business cannot buy him out of the 65% of business. No one in his family wants to take it over, and he wants to have an opportunity to plan just in case he gets hit by a Mack truck and can't do dental work anymore. He doesn't have a hand or something. God forbid, Dr. Schultz. I'm sorry. Oops. So he's a smart man. and he creates, this is the third step in our plan. Do you remember the first one? First one was valuation. Second one was plan. Third one is how are we doing the plan, which is a buy-sell agreement. That enables you to put it in writing. So this is when you do have to say, attorney person, I need you to help create a buy-sell agreement. Now, there's several buy-sell agreements out there that are not funded. This is a problem. We have a buy-sell agreement that says, I want my partner to buy me out 65% of my business, but my partner is just out of dental school and there's no way, he has student loans, so they cannot afford to buy out Dr. Schultz. So it's all great, fine and dandy to have a plan, but we need to have some funding for the plan. It creates a market, so who is going to take over the business? In this case, it's his partner. Establishes a price for the business, which is what we have established, how we're gonna do that. And then lastly, stop making so much noise over there. This is serious stuff. Dr. Schultz is dying. Oh, no, he's not. He's retiring. He has heart disease. But how we fund the buy-sell agreement is a sinking fund, and a sinking fund just means you set aside money for that specific event. Cash is you just hope that there's enough cash when he wants to retire or he gets hit by the Mack truck. You could borrow funds. You could borrow funds from the bank, but if Dr. Schultz isn't there or whomever isn't there, that bank's going to be like, I don't know. Or those angel investors are going to be like, for you, 30% interest, Mindy, because that theater work that we don't believe you're going to pay us back. So 30% interest. Yeah. Good idea. Or you can be a smart person, and here's where you involve an insurance professional. And they can help you with a disability policy or a life insurance policy that will actually fund these events should they happen. And lastly, the other person, I had it on one of my slides somewhere. You also need to talk with a CPA because all of these things have tax ramifications involved. So now we need 3 professionals. So this might take you into Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So you meet with the attorney. I'm joking, but you meet with an attorney, your CPA, and then an insurance professional. It could take that many. Now this you're going to be quizzed on this in the end. Okay? I forgot to set a timer, so I don't know how long. Oh, I've been talking for. We have 3 minutes left? They're having so much fun. Fine. Fine. I want this much time. I'm totally joking. We can get this done because you don't have to know. There's not a quiz. I did just get quizzed on all of this, so I can tell you what all this means. Redemption agreement is, here's for the buy-sell. And again, you guys will never need to know this again, but it is important because the redemption buy-sell agreement means the company is buying these policies on the individual people. We have to have people that are insurable. So, but the company itself or entity is going to purchase these policies on the people or on the owners. You act like you care, Mindy. I love that about you. Yeah. Cross-purchase means you're purchasing policies on each other. If you have more than 2 or 3 owners, this gets way too complicated and is not going to happen. These all have tax ramifications, as I mentioned before, but I have to say that one more time for my compliance department. Wait and see just means we still have these policies in place, but you could use some of funding from the company and some funding from each other to buy out Dr. Schultz in our example. I think this really helps you understand what a redemption agreement is. So you see who's buying that insurance policy. And this, the same thing. Now you know what these things are. I know that's a good representation of the policies. Oh, no attorneys in the room, that's right. Skip. So, business continuation. Develop a formal plan for continuing your business. Q1, select a successor and have a family conversation first. Have a formal valuation determined for your business, or do what I told you to do. Or call me. We could do a formal valuation together. My cards are outside on the table. Put a buy-sell agreement in place. So the attorney, we need the attorney to do this, and then set up the funding for your buy-sell agreement. Remember that life insurance policy, you don't have to die for it to pay out. Here's a little bit of insurance trivia. It has a cash value element inside. It can. There are different flavors of life insurance policies. There is a life insurance policy that has a cash value element included. And so you can use some of that money. For example, I see this all the time with like a parent-child situation. The child wants to buy the business. We write a life insurance usually on the child because it's less expensive. Then we use the cash value to pay out the parent when they want to retire. It's a beautiful thing if you do it properly and set up. That's why you need a good insurance professional to fund it. Where do you go from here? I'm going to go home in a little bit and probably get a drink. In those brown and brown cups. Is Brown and Brown in the room? Those people? They brought the cups? Did you see them? They're for cocktails, I mean water, but use them. I know they're gonna be great. I'm so excited about it. But that's what I'm gonna do after here. And then you're going to do, after, like just in your car. Here's what I want you to do. Here's my takeaway. Write down your goals. And Q3 is coming up next week, right? Q3, Q1, or month, or year, or week, or day. I don't care how you do it. But anyways, make a plan for all of these great things that you're hearing for your business, because that's really, we can hear all this all the time, but until you put something into place, it's not going to happen. Could you be doing better? Well, that's a big question. I think we all can. You have to read this and understand that this is not legal or tax advice. And I finished in the 5 minutes. Questions, comments, concerns? Yes. Yeah.
I work with a lot of small businesses, like big, small, like one person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, I talk to them about thinking about exit planning when they're founding their business.
Yep.
But their eyes glaze over and they get really
Yep.
overwhelmed.
Yep.
So I think one of my questions, I guess, is what is like the first baby step to get them to do this, and how do we not overwhelm them more with the cost of it?
Yeah, totally.
And like what, like how do, I don't know. I think you understand.
Yeah, I think like break it out in chunks. Like what do you want to have happen to your business? A, ask them that one day. And then B, like right after that question's answered, then we have to get serious about the value of our business, because everyone thinks their business is worth way more than it is. Everyone. Like I've never met a person that doesn't, right? So then we have to, the next time, let's figure out some sort of rough valuation. And so break it up into 4 different parts, and then you get the attorney involved to do the buy-sell agreement or whatever agreement it is, and then get it funded. So that's like 4 kind of smaller steps. I don't know if that's helpful.
Do you have like a range of like how much they should budget? Just, I know it's probably variable based on it.
Ooh, good.
But, if I were to say, okay, client, it's time to start planning for, guys are thinking about it, we're valuing your business.
Yeah.
A plan for 3% of business cost for the year or something like that. Do you have an approximate number for that?
It depends on their age, for example. And it depends, there's a few different ways that you can structure it too, with cash value or without cash value. So like AKA term insurance versus permanent insurance on that end. Disability policy, I would say probably about 3% of your income is about what we say general rule of thumb on a disability type policy. Life insurance, again, runs the gamut. Like a term policy, you can be, if you're really young, $20 a month for $500,000 of coverage, but cash value is usually where we want to go with business funding. So I would say you'd have to be $250 a month at least to be talking about funding. And even if they think, and especially if they're early in their business, they're gonna be like, I need to get clients in here. Y'all are crazy. It's probably not the right time to talk with them, but get it planted in their head early, and then circle back and just say, part of your budget in like 3 years. Let's look at this and see where you're at in 3 years. And you know, do you have the plan in place? Do you have it written out? And have you talked to the powers that be, like your family and things like that? I don't know if that was helpful at all. It's a very hard subject. It really is. And you don't think you're going to get hit by a Mack truck either, so sometimes those things just happen. But anyway, thank you. Oh, and now we're breathing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tracy. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Next up, I'm going to mention the next two things that are happening since they will happen fairly quickly. Next up, we have Eliza Hill reminding us to breathe, which is good. And then our final session will be our panel on mobilizing the business community in government affairs. So Eliza is an intuitive guide and an energetics and mindset coach. Eliza has learned how to grieve the past without judgment, release it, and rewrite a new story filled with alignment, honesty, and strength. By sharing her own journey and the truth of her humanness in order to see and show how it is actually her power, she guides others through intuitive readings, coaching, and human design on their own paths as they learn about and value who they are and how they are designed to live. In Eliza's work and life, she shows up to show others it is okay to learn how to be themselves by living messily and openly. I'm good at messy. Messily and openly, she walks and supports others by example, as this is where fear, curiosity, connection, and inclusivity thrive. Thank you.
No, we're supposed to keep clapping, right? So, I just want to start out by saying, first of all, just with gratitude. You know, I'm not often on this side of the group, so thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to Shannon for sure. I want to say, I don't even know if he's in here, for throwing my name out for this opportunity, for Liz, really, and for her just encouraging along the way. So, and for all of you guys, holy moly, for all of you guys for being here, for taking the time. So, as far as breathe, I mean, I think how I just would want to start out, I'm going to end up closing my eyes. I would encourage you guys all to, if you feel comfortable. I loved how Jack said that at the beginning of our day. If that feels good for you, just to close your eyes, and we're just going to take some time to connect to ourselves, to this moment. So, just finding your breath, however that looks for you, in your nose, out your mouth, whether you do box breathing, whether you just find your own rhythm in it, just coming back to this moment and breathing. And then we just take time to root in. We might call it grounding in. For me, a lot of times that looks like taking my shoes off, putting my feet on the ground. We might not lay on the ground here, but, you know, just finding our just rootedness in our seats, putting our hands on the table in front of us, on our hearts, on our thighs, however that looks for us, just taking time to really root in, ground in this moment. I mean, we are energetic beings. I mean, it's a lot of what I do, and we are exchanging energy all day today in every way, and it's beautiful. And yet it is an exchange. So really just, it's almost, I spoke to someone today of like, it's a ball of light that we've expanded out. So really just taking a moment, bringing it back in to ourselves and to our own beings right now. Just pulling that energy in just for these couple of moments together. Just allowing ourselves really just to kind of integrate all of this, coming back to our breath, coming back to our groundedness, our rootedness, our energy, allowing us to feel where we might be holding energy in, like a little bit more in our neck. Do we need to roll our neck from side to side? Relax our shoulders, circle them back, readjust ourselves in our seats. Give ourselves a little bit of like an embrace or a hug, however it feels good in this moment. Just coming back to ourselves. Just taking time to be thankful. I mean, gratitude, oftentimes we hear gratitude is almost like a prayer, which can be just how we began our day, how we can end our day. We hear that so often. Thankfulness and gratitude. Gratitude for yourself. Thankfulness that you've taken the time to be here today, for our speakers and all of those who have taken time to put this together, for those who are doing things at home and at work so that we can all be here. And just again, just for yourself, really, really taking time to thank yourself. Those I am statements of who we are and our why. We've talked about that again today too. Our why we're here and why we do what we do, and finding the beauty in that. And again, just coming back to our breath and what our bodies need in this moment. And our hearts, what our hearts need. And I would ask now that you take your left hand, and I don't know where your hands are at this moment, but put your left hand on your heart for receiving. Our left side tends to be our receiving side. Put your right hand on top if you feel comfortable doing that. Just allow yourself to really receive that thankfulness. Receive this beautiful space that we're in with these just rad humans here. Just who we all are and how we're showing up today, and receiving your breath, receiving your gratitude, receiving your all that's in this moment. Just really, really receiving it. I think sometimes it's hard for us to do that, and just allowing ourselves to, even if it means leaning back in your chair and just receiving the support that our chairs give us, even in this moment. And lastly, I would just truly ask us to exhale. I think that's been a word for me this year. I think so often we're like, hold your breath and get through it. And just remembering that, like the exhale for us, just taking it in and allowing it out, letting go what's no longer ours to hold, what no longer is serving us, what we don't need to hold in our bodies and hold in our spaces, and sometimes even hold for other people, but just truly just allowing and releasing that so that we can be ready for the next moment. We can be ready to receive. We can be ready to give and show up in all of the ways, always in all of the ways. So as we just kind of maybe do at your own pace, 3 breaths. It seems like 3 is a magic number, I think. Just inhale and then exhale. So I've like turned my whole body. I didn't even realize it. So sorry. Just coming back to this moment. For me, it's taking the time to come. I mean, that's an acronym for breathe. I mean, you have breath and rootedness, energy, allowing yourself to receive it. T for thankfulness or gratitude. H is for your heart. And E for me is exhale, like really letting it go. It doesn't belong here anymore. So, and just being able to receive what's next. So I just want to thank you guys, and hopefully you, whatever's next, I think it's Mindy and a couple other people, right? So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Eliza. I need to be reminded to breathe all the time. So very much appreciate that. So we're about to have our panel mobilizing the business community and government affairs. And I'd like to introduce our moderator. I'll mention our moderator was going to be our board chair, Samantha Parmley, but she and her family are ill. So please send your best wishes and energy to them. Ed Turner. Ed Turner has always lived socially and economically in the LGBTQ plus community and brings his full identity to the world as a person living with HIV since 1982. After having retired from a 32-year career at the Supreme Court of the United States as the Deputy Chief of Staff, as a spokesperson for the court, as assistant clerk handling death penalty cases and other emergency matters, like whether or not the chair is going to fall down if someone sits in it, yeah, and as the first male secretary in the Public Information Office. Ed, his partner Steve, and their dog Riley are thrilled to be living their best lives in Utah since 2017. Ed enjoys skiing, antiques, travel, fundraising, and choosing happiness with a side of snarkiness. Ed Turner.
Grab a chair.
The chair just, okay. Let them move comfortable. It won't interfere with my chair. This won't interfere. Well, good afternoon. Thanks for being here. My pronouns are he, him, but frankly, I will respond to anything, including, hey, girl. What a day. Change. We've heard a lot of things about change. But before we get started, what I want to find out is who's here. You know, these panels can be a bit awkward. I will sit up here with 3 of my closest friends for 15 minutes or so, pretending like you don't exist. And I don't want to do that. So I want to find out who's here for the benefit of the panel. So when I call out your name, what I'd like you to do is shout out either, you have a choice, either who you're with, or in 3 words or less, what you want, what your expectations are from this panel. Adolfo.
Great. That's nice.
Hello. Show me how.
Okay, great.
I'll go to the path.
Great. Emily.
Number 1 area to focus.
Number 1 area to focus? Okay, thank you. William, as in William Wright. Is he still here?
So he's not here, I'm stepping in for him. My name is Annie Feldman. We're with the Department of Economic Development of Salt Lake City.
Great, thank you. Liz, did she escape? No. Hey, Liz.
I thought I'd wait because I knew you were going to call me 3 words, but I can only do it in 300 or less.
Go for it.
Seriously, one of the things I am trying to figure out as a leader in this organization is how to effectively, how to affect social change, how to affect public policy, and what is the right thing, tactically and strategically, for a diversity chamber like ours to do, or the right things to do for advocacy.
Great, thanks. Last, Tracy.
Last, Tracy. Keys to successful advocacy marketing. 5 words. Keys to successful advocacy marketing.
Very good, thanks.
Question mark.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. Question mark. And one, just one?
Correct.
Comma, okay. So as Liz said, I stepped in to moderate this panel, and I really didn't have time to do the exhaustive research that my other career in Washington required of me to find out a little more about our panelists. You've read their bios, and so you already know that Justin is the star of Wells Fargo, and Mindy is Equality Utah, and the senator, well, the senator is working hard in the Senate and not ducking or hiding in any corner they have.
You should see his Twitter. It's pretty awesome. Just saying.
Depends who you ask.
Wow.
But there's always something we don't know about them beyond their bios. And so I'd like you each to tell us one thing that might surprise us or that you want to share. And I'll start with the senator.
Awesome. Thank you. This is great to be here. This is actually in my district, too. I don't know if that's why I was invited, but I have all of South Salt Lake in my district. So welcome to District 13. One thing a lot of folks may not know about me, I actually I failed out of college the first time around. So I'm the youngest in the state senate, but also my path took a little bit of a weird turn. I went to school for a couple of years and wasn't enjoying it in Ohio, and so I grew up in New Hampshire and big time skier, and Ohio is very flat, so it didn't work out so well. Went back to New Hampshire, and then that circuitously brought me to Utah. So it didn't take the traditional path necessarily, but came out here, went back to Salt Lake Community College and the University of Utah, and ended up really working nicely. So it's exciting to have moved on. That was only 6 years ago I graduated from the U, so pretty cool.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Minji?
I actually think I'm such an open book that most everyone knows all my things, but I think it surprises a lot of us in the queer community that I have 5 boys and I have 2 grandbaby boys. So, apparently I'm an overachiever.
Good. Good. And Justin?
Well, I spent a lot of time in New York City. Did the singer-songwriter gig on the side of a financial gig, because that's what you do in Manhattan. Cool thing I learned about Wells Fargo, and I don't want to be a drinking Kool-Aid type of employee, but I found out while I was in New York working for a different institution that Wells was actually the first financial institution to support the Gay Pride Initiative, the marches, the parades. They sponsored one of the first ones in San Francisco. They were paying out the tax differences to couples who could not marry at the time. They would actually cut a check to their employees to offset the taxes that their spouses couldn't file on because they weren't legally married. Wow. And it was really impressive to me that a financial institution had stuck with the community that long. They're the longest supportive company, financial institution in Utah before any other bank or institution was supporting the community. So it was really a moment that I could actually sit back and go, yeah, this company I work for kind of kicks ass. So yeah.
I'll drink that Kool-Aid.
Right?
Yeah. And I suppose I should reveal something about myself since I've asked that question, and this might be awkward for the senator to hear because I'm not sure you caught up to this, but and I'm not sure quite. Well, I've been living with your mother for the past year.
Oh, awesome.
So I thought
You're out at Summit Vista.
I am.
Okay.
I am, which is
nice.
A 62, for those of you that don't know, a 62 and over community that by the time they finish building out will have 1,500 apartments and nearly 2,500 to 2,700 residents. We will be an example of the change that's coming to the city, and will be a micro voting block and a group that has very strong views and wants to advocate for what is important to them, just like we are here today. And so with that, I'd like to get started and pose some tough questions to this group. Here so I can see you. First up, when is it appropriate for my business to justify making a public statement about social issues? So making a public statement about social issues, and Justin, you're closest to me, so I'm gonna put you on the hot spot.
Okay. I have notes too, so, because I have COVID brain a little bit. It's kind of still fogging around. I think when proposed laws start impacting your business and the economy, and not just the community itself, but also the employees that you have, I think that's the time to speak up. From a business standpoint, I don't know if as an individual there's any point where, other than at the very beginning, to try to get as much advocacy work done as possible. I'm just kind of trying to get into the weeds of things. But as a business, I think when a law or initiative is being discussed, it's important to get involved as a business when it starts impacting your economic development, impacting your employees. For instance, the DE&I, politicizing DE&I stuff. just speaking on that really quick, speaking out with support of those initiatives to show that the DE&I initiatives in your company are working is important for lawmakers and commissioners and council members to know about, that it's impacting your business, it's allowing your business to thrive. I met with an individual the last couple of days from the philanthropy arm of the bank, and he is a vet and was speaking to me about the fact that the DE&I initiatives are so everyone can win. It's not that we're setting aside attention for smaller groups in consequence of the larger group not getting something. When in the end, the smaller groups, the marginalized communities, when we lift them up, everybody gets to win, because it essentially brings up the economy and partnership of everybody. So in the end, everybody wins in those initiatives, but it's important to get involved in those cases when it affects your business directly, especially with those initiatives, to let your lawmaker or council member know what your business's position is on the matter. So,
Senator, you're nodding your head. Jump in.
Yeah, I think that kind of hit a lot of the points I would have spoken to anyway. I don't think you have to be too picky. If it impacts your business, if it impacts your employees, if it impacts this community, I think that's the beauty of a chamber, is having the collective voice of businesses. Probably, I assume a lot of these are smaller businesses in this capacity. I see Gary out here with the South Salt Lake Chamber, so I know they've done a good job at getting a bunch of businesses together, and I think anytime you bring that together and show kind of a unified front, that is really impactful. Talking about the economic impact, and that we talk a lot about the economy in Utah that influences a lot of legislators. It's definitely an important piece, but if you can tie it back to how it's going to impact your bottom line, I think those are the real impactful moments when that kind of thing comes to the forefront.
Right. Mindy, take it what you've heard, maybe in a little different. Any concerns here?
Well, I think it's one thing to make a statement. It's really easy to be like, this is how we view it. And even especially on social media, like, boom, and drop it on social media. But I think real advocacy and effective advocacy is when we make clear relationships. When I'm talking to Nate outside of the legislative session and outside of an issue, and I make a relationship with you, and you know me as a business owner, and you know what I believe in, you're going to count me more than just your constituent, but as a friend. And then you'll listen to your friends much more than you'll listen to something on a post. And I think that's advocacy. By showing up today and being part of the LGBTQ chamber and showing up, I feel like Liz Pitts does this very well. She shows up, she makes relationships. Say the whole chamber board, who doesn't know Shannon? Everyone does, because they're out there building relationships. And it's hard, what's that old quote? It's hard to hate up close. When people know us and love us and want to work with us, that's when the magic happens. And I think our legislators, they don't think like us often. They don't vote like us often. But if that majority can get to know us individually as people and get to know our families and our businesses, that's when the power comes.
Yeah,
Senator, I want to go back to you.
Yeah.
Give us a little insight, because you are active. You have strong held opinions before you were elected. What is it like for you now, to the extent you can tell us?
Well, I think the point Mindy just made about building relationships is key. I mean, I'm only a text away. Like, that's something I would stress, is like, we're pretty easy to, at least we should be easy to find as legislators. That's part of our job, is being accessible to the public. And I try to be as responsive as possible on I think texting is surprisingly, maybe for some people, the easiest way to reach me, and even I think a lot of the other legislators. If we can text, we have it in front of us. It may not get an immediate response, but it's there. It's easy to see. Sometimes email gets buried. A phone call, go to the inbox more often than not. A text, it just seems to work better. So that's one thing I would say, is just anytime you can text, I think that's a really good way to communicate with people. Could you refresh the question? I was kind of not directly related, but.
What has it been like for you to transition into this new position? Your views haven't necessarily changed,
No,
but you're in a new role, and with that
yeah.
comes this gesture. So, you're sort of a bit removed, not removed, but
I mean, I try not. I think there is this sense of removal from a lot of people that, like, you make it into the legislature, city council or something, and you're supposed to be further removed, and I think that's kind of sad. I think we should be more in touch with people. We should be out in the community doing these sorts of events and meeting with business. I met with Scott at Tizanti. I know he's had some issues before on some pretty nasty stuff. So it's good to be out there and just talking to people and not being too far removed. So I think I wish more people would take that when they were elected, is not just getting into the role and then like feeling like you're kind of behind the curtain. So I think accessibility is something that's really important that we don't quite see enough of.
Just before I move on to the next question, Justin, can you maybe give us a perspective, taking what you just heard from the senator, how you approach somebody on the Hill, not just our friend here, but
Right.
in general?
Attending legislative sessions that are important to me personally. I'm also a musician. So if there's anything, especially in New York, when there was anything being talked about with when the tax system was being renegotiated of what a performer could and couldn't write off and all that stuff, that was important to me. And I showed up because a lot of people kind of wait on the back end that their voice really doesn't matter. And I know it's kind of something we've heard over and over sometimes, but it really does. And when you do show up and you make those connections, it does sometimes change the perspective of the individual that is representing that specific initiative. So if someone puts forth a bill about, I don't know, the music stuff, I show up, I talk to them about how that's going to impact me, or how that's going to benefit me. It makes that connection, as Mindy spoke to, and it really does drive a result with your representative, because it could bring a completely different perspective that they had never thought of. And I think, if I'm wrong, Nate, you can let me know, but it seems sometimes in lawmaking, everyone works in a silo, in an echo chamber. And sometimes people don't get outside of that and realize, wait a minute, I didn't even think about how this would affect this. I'm so glad, Mindy, you spoke to me about this, because yeah, that does matter. And so it could definitely change the trajectory of what's going on.
Great, thanks. Mindy, I'm going to call on you first for this one. Okay. So our chamber currently is pretty diverse, and that's only going to be more so in the years to come. What do you see is an effective government affairs advocacy strategy and tactics for these sorts of issues, considering the makeup of our chamber and the varied interest?
Yeah, well, we keep talking about relationships, and in the we all know money talks. So when we, like you said, make a united front and they see a thriving LGBTQ chamber, it's a lot easier to listen. I keep thinking of my friend Becky Pickle, which a lot of us know her because she's given money to a lot of our organizations. She gets listened to because she's just a business owner who shows up, and they listen, and she gets invited places. And I think as chamber members, like you're being involved, and then also get involved in other like-minded chambers, and where you are interested. Maybe you're joining the Black Chamber, maybe you're joining the Salt Lake Chamber, the South Valley Chamber, that you're involved and people know you, and those relationships are going like this. It's one thing also, again, to make a public statement is powerful and can be listened to, but more often being heard, and being heard on those off seasons, being listened to when they're not having 1,000 voices and 1,000 texts, but at another time. And I know you're going to get to this, but right now we have already have noticed that there have been 19 anti-DEI bills filed already. And that's a lot. And I think what's happening is it's a backlash,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so I think when our representatives understand, whoa, this is a big deal to me, and we start talking to them now before this coming legislative session. Hey, I hear this is happening. Tell me more about that. What do you think? Tell me what you think it is. And asking questions and letting them talk, and hearing what they have to say and then sharing with what you have to say. And I think, maybe hey, can you sit down with us at the gay chamber? We want to talk to you and hear what you have to think, and we want to share with you our thoughts and views.
Okay. Justin?
Especially with diversity chambers, like it's super important to make those connections and be a united front of some sorts. If it impacts the business community, it impacts all of our chambers that we are cross-affiliated with. With the DE&I initiatives, I knew that was going to be hitting us. The issue is that with Utah being so pro-business, it's important to make those connections to the people that represent us on the lawmaking table, because if we speak the language of business to our representatives, that's the common language that everyone can agree on. It's business and family. With the business aspect, if you go into it with that kind of approach and that language and help them see, hey, this restricting DE&I accesses in businesses or their strategies or filing discrimination suits and stuff is going to prevent the economic growth of the state. There will be businesses that will see these restrictions and will not move their companies to Utah as a result. They will not do business with other businesses in Utah because their supply diversity initiatives are being challenged. I know the county is facing some battles with that, that if we appropriate funds to help these marginalized communities rise up in our economic development, that it means these people aren't getting something, and so they are pushing back against these initiatives. So it's really important that we speak on the issues, obviously the social issues that are important to us, but if we speak the language of business and tie it to the development of Utah
And plead the business case.
Oh yeah.
This is hurting recruitment. This is hurting retention.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That will ring a giant bell with the people that represent us. So,
Senator, do you agree with what you're hearing?
Right?
Yeah, I think that's a great plug, I think, is to connect holistically and not talk about, or not just talk about the one specific kind of angle we're kind of talking about today, but connecting it to a larger picture of the business climate here in Utah. I mean, we're hearing about the Olympics potentially coming back. I think that's going to be a driving force. They have social equity concerns and environmental concerns, and we've already seen the Salt Lake Olympic Committee actually come out and voice concerns with the Parley's gravel pit proposal. So I think there's all these different kind of pieces that come together, and trying to tie them all together and say this is going to impact business in Utah generally, not necessarily just from one perspective. That's really important. I'll get back to the relationships piece as far as specific strategies. I think anytime is a good time to build relationships, especially outside of session. We're still a few months away, so reach out to your specific legislators that are your personal in your personal districts, your businesses districts, and if you have employees across the state, I would say, the Democrats here in Salt Lake County probably are thinking similarly to how a lot of the perspectives here are aligned. If you have folks from outside of the area that are represented by Republicans, I'll put on my partisan hat for a minute, get them to reach out to their legislators too.
Please.
We need everyone. This is something I've talked a lot about with water. The agricultural concerns are big, and I can't speak well to agricultural interests. I live a mile away from here in the middle of the city. But if we can have people in those districts, on topics that are relevant to those legislators that may not always hear about these things, I think that's really important. So there are better messengers than me on that one, better messengers than us city slickers.
But as you're saying, the time to connect is not when there's 1,000 other texts hitting you about something that just got announced.
Yeah, if the first time we hear from someone is on a specific bill, that's fine, definitely fine. But if we've heard from them before on other things, we're like, we can kind of put a face to the name and that sort of thing. That's really important. And also, specific kind of personal stories are great too. One of the best lobbying campaigns I got last year was on coverage for family members to provide services to their family members with disabilities, and they were sending us all sorts of pictures and personal stories and stuff, and it was really impactful. And I think that bill ended up passing unanimously. So that's if you can show us those sorts of things, that is really impactful for a lot of people.
So one of the things I'm hearing in this sequence of answers is showing up. Which is, for a person of my age, has been exhausting. But we keep doing it. Senator, you don't represent the Senate, and so the impact of someone showing up to you may play differently elsewhere in the chamber. Can you just briefly talk a little bit about the importance? Give us some hope. Tell us to persevere, however you want to handle that.
Yeah, well, showing up is definitely easier than it used to be. I mean, one of the few benefits from COVID is we have taken virtual participation, that still goes on. So that didn't really happen that much before COVID. It was, you had to show up at the Capitol, which wasn't great for, rural folks. It wasn't great for folks who just had a hard time for whatever reason getting up there because of work or illness, whatever it might be. But you can just pop online virtually and either watch meetings or even participate directly. And so I think that is great. And if you can mobilize yourself, mobilize your employees, your family, friends, whoever, tell them how important things are. I think that's something that's been great, is to see. I would say it still is, if you can get up to the Capitol and be in person, it's better, especially because you can maybe grab a legislator in the hallway and that sort of thing. But showing up with a couple people at the Capitol and doing some lobbying is a great way to be impactful. You can stand outside the legislative chamber, the Senate chamber, and just try to grab some legislators as we come out. We get called out by lobbyists and that sort of thing, but people should be responsive to citizens as well. It shouldn't just be corporate lobbyists. So again, shoot us a text while we're in session, and people should pop out if you're up there.
Can I pop in?
Yes, I was going to jump.
I was just going to say, I really encourage everyone in this room, you're all leaders, run for office.
That too.
Run for city council, run, even
School
just
board.
being a delegate in your area could just be so impactful. The statistics right now are that most delegates in Utah, and being a delegate is not difficult. No. You pretty much just show up and you can be one, especially in some of our areas in Utah. Mm-hmm. But if you were to show up and become a delegate, you would flip what is the statistics are like 85% of our delegates in Utah are white, straight men over 55. And what if we had a bunch of queer folks showing up to be delegates? That would flip who got on the ballot. And being a delegate, you're gonna stay pretty incognito. You know what I mean? A lot of us fear maybe getting to actually running for office because I don't want my name smeared. I don't want to be out there that public. But if you are willing, and it could make such a difference. Our current legislature doesn't really represent our current state. Nope. And really the diversity that is in our state. But we've got to get all of us thinking about possibly serving our communities and serving it in a very public way that makes a difference. Our lawmakers make our laws that then rule our lives. So how do we get all of us to consider being part of that?
Yeah, we saw about 50 delegates. I won't name names in this circumstance. We saw about 50 delegates last year flip one seat from a relatively good person who is easy to work with and supportive of all sorts of important issues to someone who is not. It was 50 delegates made that change in 2022.
And they are organizing.
Yeah.
So can we as well? You know what I mean? Let's do this together.
Great, thanks.
But run for office, yeah, that's key. Encourage your employees to run for office. I think that's great. If you can set aside that time, that's really important.
Nobody's running for the door, so I think we've got some people here.
I saw some nods too. I liked it.
Let's send out a spreadsheet and start signing people up. Right?
Good plan. Okay, this one is up for grabs, and you can pass if you'd like to. My company strictly focuses on business. Is there a way for my company to be involved politically if it's not in a position to donate funds to support specific candidates or political groups?
Oh,
Go.
I talk to, because of our Business Equality Leader program, where we're certifying companies as business equality leaders, and some of them don't have a big budget or a budget for this at all. So encouraging folks at the company to organize a Pride ERG or whatever ERG, to just start gathering community. Those sorts of things, when you start with community and you start with people, then they see, whoa, you had 30 people show up to your ERG gathering? Whoa, that must matter to our employees. And if we can always prove the business case for that, recruitment, retention, that these sorts of things help with that. Because I'm only interested in business, but your people matter, and your people are going to affect your business.
Great, thanks.
I think that it's also a good opportunity for if say the organization that you're in isn't able to, like you said, they're restricted from participating politically or whatever. I think it's important to join chambers of commerce, cross affiliations, find out what's important to the chambers in the community. And that, in essence, rolls up to our legislators and decision makers on the Hill. I think it's important to make those connections. Also, there's the LGBTBE program I think Tracy spoke to earlier, that you're part of a supplier diversity group that's pretty awesome, pretty exclusive, and used across the country. And so I think there's ways to acknowledge, tip a hat to our social and political issues without coming forward as a company with some kind of statement or funding or something. So just participating in these types of events like we are now, and other chambers and what's important to them as well, I think will help build that up, as that kind of fill that gap from what they are not able to participate in.
Okay, great.
Yeah, one of the notes I had written on this was actually encourage friends or employees to run for office. So there you go. So I think that's a good one. You can always show up to committee meetings, both interim and during session, and speak to bills or proposed legislation, that sort of thing, especially during the interim. I mean, you just mentioned we've got potentially 19 bills on DEI stuff. I think we're going to talk about other potential legislation. There's other stuff out there. So, voice your opinions on those. You don't have to, it's definitely is not pay to play. You don't have to donate to get involved in politics, and that's the way it should be. So Utah in particular, there's no campaign finance limits, which is problematic in a lot of ways. So definitely don't feel like money is the only thing you have to give to support people. If you can give your employees a safe space to express their views, or just to come to work and feel like they're not going to face retribution for expressing their views on social media or presenting in a committee or something like that, that's all really important. It doesn't need to involve giving a campaign contribution. We love campaign contributions, I won't lie about that, but it makes it easier to get out and reach constituents and that sort of thing, but certainly not a requirement.
Before we get to those state bills, one question. And I should say, disclosed, although I wish I had encouraged us to formulate these questions with AI, these were actually written by a human or two. As queer and allied business owners, in what ways can we show up? In what ways can we show we are committed to inclusivity and community, and how do we connect with a larger customer base beyond displaying the very obvious symbols like flags that may, in the end, be vandalized?
I think the LGBTBE thing, because that's a certification that's not only just on paper and gives you access to the national database of supplier diversity, it's also an insignia that can be included on a website in the entrance to your company. And it's a visual cue of your participation in that diversity. And it's exclusive to those businesses that are owned or operated by someone in the LGBTQ community. So I think that's a way to show support and acknowledge your inclusion of our community with that. So.
Well, and I think about, the Chamber Safe Zone trainings. When you're doing that kind of thing, you're showing that it matters at your company. And, Liz mentioned that we have a chamber chapter in St. George, and we finally have an employee in St. George, and it's making an impact because it needs it down there, right? So last year, we saw a huge upheaval in St. George, but then we're down there doing safe zone training, doing business equality leader trainings. When you're showing that equality matters at your company, when you're showing up, we keep having this theme come through when you show up. It doesn't just have to be a flag, although flags are lovely. Mm-hmm. But when we show up, and especially in areas like that in Utah, when you have business owners talking to those, and your employees throughout the state are talking to their legislators, that impacts.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And interesting you mentioned Washington County. It's like the third most populous county in the state now.
And
so I mean, it's
growing.
Come way out of left field. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was just down there for interim this week. We had our interim session. I just got back last night, actually. St. George is really
booming.
It's booming. Yeah, the whole area down there. It's a little like Disney World. It's kind of weird. It's not like the outer Ivans and Santa Clara. It's just like these. Anyway, that's off topic, but
yeah,
kind of an interesting place. I think I think this is a good place for chambers. I mean, this is like you bring in the collective power of businesses. You don't have to. It's not just about a flag or something. It's presenting that unified front is really important. It can give. I think it is important to be able to have some anonymity at times when you need it for certain things. A chamber can bring businesses together, and you don't have to speak on behalf of your specific business. You might be able to have the chamber or a trade association, other things like that. If you're involved in other groups, those are great places to be able to make statements that maybe don't tie back into a specific business. So I think that is an important reason to be joining groups like this and other kind of associations, and just providing a community hub. I know Tizanti is a great example, Sugar House Coffee, all great examples of places where people can show up and feel welcome, and whether it's visible explicitly or just people know that they can go there and see people they want to see and not feel like they're being endangered or criticized or something. I think that's really important. So appreciate all the businesses that are able to do that. We need more spaces like that, frankly.
So I don't think you were off topic when you talked about interesting places, because now we're going to talk about that interesting place, the Capitol. And what I'd like to hear from you are what state bills are likely to be presented that you touched on it, Mindy, gave us a little preview, but specifically, what's coming in the pipeline that's going to impact this community?
I can start this off on a positive note, because a lot of times it isn't.
Seriously.
So I know Sahara Hayes, Representative Hayes, who I don't think we're quite in her district now, but we're very close. We may be in her district. She's around here. She right now is the only LGBTQ member of the legislature. She is working on 2 bills. She said I can share these. Let's see, one to restore state employees' opportunity to get gender-affirming care if they need it. She said she doesn't think that'll probably get out of committee, if it even gets a committee hearing. That's probably accurate, unfortunately, especially based off of the legislation we've seen going the other direction on gender-affirming care. But she's going to try, which is great. So she's going in that direction. Oh, what was the other one? She's going to try to get rid of the gay panic defense. So that's the other one she's working on. That's a new
Gay panic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's still a thing in Utah. You can use that as a defense if you're, I don't know the specifics on that one, but that is something she's trying to get rid of as well. That's a new, I think she just filed that, so she hasn't gone deep into that one, but definitely a couple. Sorry, the gay panic defense. So it's like a legal issue. Yeah, I'm not an expert on that, so I don't want to speak to details or anything, but certainly would be great to abolish that. So.
I mean, is there a straight panic defense?
Yeah. Right. No, I don't think there is.
Yeah.
Or a
Amen.
white cisgender straight bill. Wow.
Perhaps there should be.
Right.
You know, we know it's coming, right? Just what I find interesting is it seems like there are so many bills that are coming from such a place of fear, and you know, it's an election year, so everyone's going to be really wanting to rile their bases. And I think the most effective thing we can do is to, when we feel like raging, be able to articulate that in a way that isn't filled with rage and fear, that is filled with common sense and logical points, and keep to that relationship building tactic. Troy gave us a book called Love Your Enemies, and it's Arthur Brooks. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. But it's got an American flag on it. I'm all, what are you making us read? And I was like immediately triggered from just the American flag. And yet I read it, and it was very powerful and very motivating. And in it, he talks about motive attribution asymmetry, where we think the other side is coming from hate, but we're coming from love. But if we can really consider that those who wouldn't think or vote like us are also coming, they think they're coming from love, and they think we're coming from hate. When we can look at that and to really try, and it takes a lot of personal breathing work, we're gonna have to have you lead us every day, but really try to consider where is this coming from? And that we can approach them, tell me about this, tell me more. I don't know if you all know that we actually bought a sponsorship at the Republican State Convention and talk about some breath work on the drive there. We actually had our mentor train us in like civil rights movement, where she attacked us and called us groomers and called us all the things that we get called, and how we would respond to that. And I know this is a good story. Oh. Let me tell you, we got screamed at once, only once that whole morning. But for about 4 hours, we had conversations with Republican delegates in our state. And those delegates are often the most extreme. I had a guy back me up in the booth, and he was kind of yelling at me, this is a mental illness, and he was just yelling at me, and I said, oh, hey, tell me why you think that. And I think it shocked him that I asked him a question and I didn't rage back. But about 40 minutes, I got to listen to him. And I said, And I kept trying to bring it back. Oh, where are you from? Oh, my mom's from there. Right? And trying to get him back to the humanity of it all. And when he was really raging about trans people, I said, oh, I wish you could meet my friend Olivia. You would just love her. And then Olivia, in her Air Force jacket, walks up, and he looked at her, and Olivia took it, and for like 15 minutes, she spent time with him, and I watched him melt. And then I kind of went off, talked to other people, and as he walked out, he had tears in his eyes, and he said, I have been educated. I have been educated.
That's the work.
That's the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's slow, and it's tedious, and it's long. But Equality Utah, we're here for the long game. We're here for the long game, and we aren't raging. And many of our community are pissed at us for not raging like this. But we know the effective strategy is that we're at the table. When we're in the room, we can take the teeth out of things. We might not get what we want, but we can take the teeth out of it. When we have conversations and we educate, that's the work.
Thank you.
Well, yes. Yeah.
She's running for office. I just want to
right? I think
I swear way too much.
oh, hell no. When you take the teeth out, it totally does change the dynamic of the confrontation and redirects it into a conversation. I've had that experience with my own family, where when we bring it back to a conversation over dinner instead of over a pulpit or a shouting match of talking points, when we bring it back to a conversation, it takes the heat out, and both sides can actually come to an understanding. There are points that my stepmother's family's made that I'm like, okay, I can see how you would totally value that, and now it makes more sense than it did before. So it really does open up the dynamic of the win-win situation, wherein there's understanding, but you got to take the heat out to have that kind of a conversation. So, yeah.
Great. Let's turn that around a bit. Yes. 3 minutes? You said 20 minutes? Okay, good. Thanks.
2 more hours.
We're all going to dinner. Let's go.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's 4:20.
I mean, it's 4:20 somewhere.
It's 4:20. Oh, wow. No. Okay. All right, we want to honor our time, so I'll go with this one. Why are business diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives becoming a target for some lawmakers? And I know we've touched on it a little bit, but this is the other side of it. This is not the negative stuff that we're responding to, but this is what we're pushing. And that land of humanity that has been spoken about often seems so far away. How do we get there? Do we need to do something different?
I think it comes from the place Mindy was just talking about. I mean, this unawareness of what's going on in the real world. There's a lot of disconnection at the legislature. If you look at the makeup of who represents Utah, there's not a lot of diversity up there, and so I think people don't know this community well, and there's fear, and it's hard to address. That's what we just heard. So and I think that's where these bills are coming from, or just a sense of, I'll say ignorance, not ignorance in the stupid way, but ignorant, just a lack of awareness, a lack of knowledge about who people are and what they believe, and how they're raising their families, and all of these things. And we need better, starts with better public education and better childcare. All these different things feed into it. It's a big process, but it's really frustrating to see this sort of legislation keep coming forward by people who I think just don't understand at all what they're doing.
Well, and like the identity politics, football gets kicked around like, oh, they're just playing identity politics. But speaking to that, it's like, well, but I do want someone somewhere that represents me, that looks like me or has the interests that I have. Because I'm not the only one that has those same values and interests. Like, I want someone representing my demographic up there. Why don't I get a seat at the table and the meal that everyone else is having? It's not about excluding anyone in the majority. It's about allowing representation to work upward of the people that aren't being, if even a seat at the table, but a full-on dinner would be nice.
Mindy, I have in my mind 8 minutes, but apparently 30 seconds. Bring it home. Bring it home for us.
Yeah.
Well, I think when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, we talk about diversity. I think real diversity is diversity of thought, viewpoint diversity, because not all queers think alike. Am I right? Not all Mormons think alike. Am I right? So when we really consider, like, I want to get to know you. I want to know what you think. I want to know why you think what you think. Let's talk about that. That's diversity. And then we're not tokenizing anyone, stuffing them in a box and reducing them to a label. How do we talk about diversity in a way that I want to know what you think. I want to know where you're from. I want to know why you think what you think.
Great. I want to thank you. Before we go, one word, takeaway from your experience being here. Senator, you go first.
Man, does show up count as one word? Two
It
words?
does.
I don't know.
Hyphenate.
Hyphenate it, yeah.
Relationships.
Damn it. You both.
There you go.
That's my word.
That's his.
Damn it.
Damn it. No, I actually think that all captures it. Yeah.
How about I'll use a hyphen, kick
Yes,
ass.
there we have
Kick
it.
ass.
Thank you for being
That
patient.
fits.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank
It was fun.
Thank you so much to our panelists and to all of our presenters today. Olivia, are you waving at me? No, I bet you're waving at Wendy. Mindy, I called you Wendy. Mindy. Two very, very quick things after all of the thank yous. Thank you to all of you for showing up today. I hope everybody got a good takeaway or 7 from today. And thank you once again to all of our sponsors, all of our exhibitors. Some of our exhibitors will be still set up, and we have some lovely nibbles, but just one moment. Couple of quick things. Oh, closing remarks, that's me. First and foremost, we are saying goodbye to one of my favorite board members. Don't tell the rest of the board, but Jorge is my favorite board member. No, Jorge has been our marketing chair for the last almost 2 years, and he will be moving to California. So Jorge, will you come up here? And Emily, will you come up here? And just thank you so much for everything that you've done in Utah, for the chamber, and just being a really great person. We wish you happy trails.
Thank you. Oh.
He's all embarrassed now, isn't it fun? Yay. And then one other very last bit here. We were excited to find out last week that through the NGLCC, the National Chamber, 3 of our local businesses were selected to receive $5,000 grants from the Grubhub Community Impact Fund. So Chef Fee and Scott and Emily from Sweet Hazel and Company, coming up. I don't have any big checks because I don't like to waste paper. I'm just kind of like that. But Chef Fee from Sweet Hazel and Company, Emily Potts from Sugar House Coffee, and Scott Little from Tizanti all received $5,000 grants. And that's that, other than Chef Fee herself has put on a most beautiful spread of nibbles for us. And then one of our other chamber members, WB's Eatery, will be serving non-alcoholic cocktails, beers, and wines. So please stay with us for a bit longer. Enjoy some nibbles and each other's company. And thank you for coming to the summit. And that is who is sponsoring the evening networking and nibbles. Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small businesses.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz. Come on, Liz. Oh,
Should we go over there?
Do you want me to go?
That one, the one with the 3 logos. Yeah. I know, right? Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Good job.
I hope you get some clients.
Squirrel. Yeah, and, oh, right there. Yeah, right there. If y'all just like interlace, get in there, Liz.
But it did all the work.
Looks great.
The soft food.
Oh, Forrest, I'm not sure.
You at the dinner? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're rock and roll.